already know, man. It's Deion Dawkins, and you listening to the Real Deal Sports Show on the Beat 105.5.
Yes, indeed, you are. Good morning. Another Saturday morning talking sports of all sorts. The Red Man is here. The Red Man is here, as always, on Saturday morning with my trusty co-host, J-GILLZ. We bring you sports of all sorts on Real Deal Sports Show. And we got a lot to talk about, broadcasting live from the Rock Pawnbroker Studios, as we do each and every Saturday morning. We bring you the very best there is in sports commentary on Real Deal Sports Show. And we're going to get right into it. Bills, Dolphins, Bills, Cardinals, 34-28. Bills win on Sunday. Didn't look great. One of the most exciting games of opening day weekend. Bills defeating the Cardinals. And then they took their trip down to South Beach, Florida. And I was shocked at what I saw from mainly the Miami Dolphins. I thought the Dolphins were a little bit, it seemed like the heat from the game Sunday that they had against the Jacksonville Jaguars took a little bit more out of them than they took out of the Bills-Cardinals game. Because to me, they looked a little off step. They didn't have their rhythm going. And here's Mr. Dolphin himself, J-GILLZ. Were they a little bit, do you think that game on Sunday had something to do with how they played on Thursday, especially with the injuries in the running in the backfield?
Hey, good morning, Real Deal family. You already know, man. So let me just break this down to you right now. I'm very, very disappointed in the Miami Dolphins. When I look at the offseason that they've had, you look at week one against the Jacksonville Jaguars, started out very sluggish. You know, they started out very sluggish. If it wasn't for that Javon Holland punch out on Travis Etienne in the third quarter, it would have been 24-7 with the third quarter. So shout out to Javon Holland from last week. But then again, this week, you know, they came out sluggish. They came out lethargic, and it was bad. And Radman, my thought is, you know, when I look at the offseason the Dolphins had, when I look at the investments that the Miami Dolphins have made from owner Stephen Ross, paying a guy like Tua Tagovailoa $212 million, extending Tyreek Hill $90 million, giving Jalen Waddle another $87 million, paying a guy like what's my man's name, the cornerback, Jalen Ramsey, that guaranteed money. Extending the coach, Mike McDaniels. You know, he put a lot of money and a lot of investment into this team this year. And to me, the team in South Florida with a coach like Mike McDaniel, everybody's just on chill mode. Everybody got their money, and there's no urgency, but it's a sense of entitlement, but it's not a sense of urgency that I'm seeing from the Miami Dolphins. And this is just, to me, this is coming from a team and an owner who is giving up all this money to players who haven't really deserved it at this point. You know, Tua Tagovailoa, I feel he deserved his money. I'm happy he got paid. Look what he did last season. You had to give that man some money. When I look at Mike McDaniel, when has the last time a Dolphins coach has been extended through this time? This is his third season. He hasn't won a playoff game yet, and y'all extend him through 2028, giving him all this guaranteed money? I needed to see a little bit more out of Mike McDaniel. His last 2 years hasn't guaranteed that he should be the coach next year. I need to see him win a playoff game before he can even think about that. He's a glorified offensive coordinator at this point. I haven't seen much of a head coach from him thus far. So to extend him out, and then Jalen Ramsey, he's played good, but he's on the declining years of his league. Yeah, he's got more years behind him than he does in front of him, playing at this elite level. And so when I look at all of these players getting paid, I just feel like Stephen Ross kind of just jumped the gun a little bit too much. And now I'm hearing that he's trying to sell $17 million stake in the company. So you can get 17% of the Miami Dolphins right now for $7 billion. He knows how to sell high. I'll be wary of that. Right, that right there was the most telling sign of all that Dolphins fans, myself included, might have a long season ahead of us. Stephen Ross trying to sell 17% of the Miami Dolphins right now. What you trying to sell for right now? Because right now the stock is probably going to be as high as it's going to be in a while. So I was very disappointed, and I think the approach that I saw just wasn't good. Starting from this offseason, paying everybody that didn't deserve it. And to me, that's where we all failed at. But Dolphins, I heard some stuff now. You know, Tua, he's going to be gone for at least 4 games. And I've been hearing some rumors of some other players that might be looking to play quarterback for the Dolphins. We ain't even going to get into that yet.
Wow. Man, I can't believe what I'm hearing. Man, just 2 weeks into the season, things have changed in South Beach, Florida. For sure, man. You were talking Super Bowl. Now you're talking about replacing the owner damn near or something.
I ain't never say replacing the owner.
He's selling shares and this and that.
He's selling shares.
Well, what I saw the other night, what surprised me was it looked like that heat from the game Sunday and that pressure, they were behind like the Bills, a little bit worse than the Bills, actually, because like you said, if they wouldn't have punched the ball out of Etienne's hand going in, almost who was going in for a certain touchdown, that saved that game and got them started. And it took a lot out of them to get that team back and end up winning that game late. And then come back a few days later, and you had bumps and bruises. You had the running backs, both running backs injured. Waddle and Tyreek looked like they were fast, but looked like they just wasn't as, I don't know, it didn't look as smooth at all. And Tua just had trouble. It's something about the Bills that gives him trouble because he had that Josh Allen look in his eyes most of the game, early in the game. That's what shocked me. I said, wow, why is he looking kind of confused so early in the game? His passes were a little bit off. A couple, Robbie Anderson out there, they just brought him in 3-4 weeks ago. He's throwing to the underneath guys. I thought they should have brought it back a little bit underneath more with Waddle because he's really good underneath and shorter passes. They were trying to still go downfield, and the Bills didn't allow them, which is great. That Sean McDermott defense, it continues with Bobby Babbage in there. They had a good system set up to stop them and keep the ball underneath. As a matter of fact, let's hear what the Bills defensive coordinator Bobby Babbage had to say about the game Thursday night. Coach George Radney, Challenger Community News. How you doing this afternoon?
Good. How are you, George?
Great. Having a great day.
Awesome.
Question. Yes, indeed. How much did Daquan Jones mean to the defensive front? What he does week in and week out?
Daquan is, I mean, he's a very important piece to what we do. Not only is he a good football player, but he's a veteran presence in the defensive line room who's a football guy, he's a football junkie. So he can help those younger guys with things that he's seeing and the way he sees the game and, provide a little leadership in that room. So he's a very important piece to what we do.
Excellent. And last but not it looked like the Miami Dolphins looked like that game they played Sunday against Jacksonville took an awful lot out of them, more than it took out of your guys. It seemed like they never could get their legs going in that game. They looked slow the entire game last night. Was that something you might have seen and maybe helped you make adjustments on defense to take advantage of that?
No, they're very fast.
They were still fast as they normally would be any given.
They're fast. They are fast. They are fast, and they're fast all the time.
Oh, okay. It wasn't no drop off last night.
No.
Okay. Just looked a little.
No.
All right. Last but not least, on the linebackers, did you see? I asked head coach Sean McDermott earlier. Now you're seeing more and more teams running the football. You only had 300-yard passers at the end of the first week of the regular season. Do you see the linebacker position going back to where it used to be, where you're getting bigger linebackers in there to combat the power rushers that teams are now starting to throw at you, at defenses once again?
I'll go, I'll just speak about the Buffalo Bills, but we have a certain profile, George, and I think you know what that is. We've talked about it before, that we look for and the way the game is trending. And I think every organization is different. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer in general. For us, we believe we have what's right for us and what we try to target for us. But, in the end, we just want to end up with really good football players that can help play the run and the pass.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, and good luck next week.
You got it. Thank you.
There you have it. J-GILLZ, he said they didn't look slow to him on the field. On me, they just looked a little out of sync, J-GILLZ.
I'm going to have to put this in its proper perspective, honestly. When we look at that game earlier, it wasn't a Josh Allen look in the eye. On the paper, yes, the Dolphins had Tyreek Hill, they had Waddle. They were doing what they needed to do, but we have to call a spade in this sense. That third string receiver, that first interception, Tua dotted the receiver right there. That was a receiver straight from the practice squad. It hit him right in the shoulder blade, for that first interception. That second interception, Robbie chose Anderson. That was a misread on Robbie. Now, that third pick six, that was all on Tua. But we have to understand the left tackle and the left guard were both out on that play. That's the first play that Teron Armstead had to leave. And then as soon as he came back, that's why he had to come back so fast. So we have to look at it in its proper context. Nothing is perfect, but great quarterbacks are quarterbacks who can adjust during those times. And that's why a guy like Patrick Mahomes is so great, because he's the only guy in the league right now who can make those type of adjustments without turning the ball over, without having his receivers. That's why it's only one Patrick Mahomes, and that's why this guy's winning all the Super Bowls.
Absolutely. And one thing, you guys, I would suggest, since you're paying all that money, and Stephen Ross is paying all that money, why don't you pay for some damn linemen, man? Come on, man. How many years you going to have sorry line? I mean, my boy Armstead, he was a great dude. I loved him in New Orleans with the New Orleans Saints when the New Orleans was on that Super Bowl run for many years with their quarterback and that team they had down in New Orleans. But he's in his 14th or 15th season now. And you look at the injury report every week, even in the preseason, Armstead has a back, a shoulder, a neck injury, and he's listed as probable or questionable. What was he in a damn car accident before he got to the stadium, man? What? I mean, with injuries like that, he need to call an attorney, man. Call John Wright. John Wright needs to help that brother out now, man. I mean, how you got a neck, back, and shoulder injury and think you got? And Ed Oliver was eating it. Ed Oliver had him for lunch, man. Ed Oliver, you saw how Ed Oliver made him leave the game, talking about his shoulder harness wasn't working properly. Next thing you know, his ass was sitting on the bench with his helmet off, man. That's all, man. He don't want no more Ed Oliver, man. He didn't want no more of that.
Not to mention, right, man, he's pending retirement. And then they came back and then paid him after he was going to retire. But one of the most egregious moves this offseason from my Miami Dolphins had to be losing Connor Williams, who was a top-ranked guard on PFF, top-ranked guard in the league last year. He had that injury, and guess where he's at right now? He's the starting guard for the Seattle Seahawks right now. Starting center, excuse me. He was the number 1 rated center last season, had that injury, fell out with the Dolphins, and now he's on a way cheaper contract, but he's the starting center right now. So you cannot lose the best center in the league for nothing and expect to still dominate the trenches as they did last season. That was one of the most egregious moves that we've seen. But that wasn't the only loss that we saw in that game, Radman. Terrell Bernard, Bills middle linebacker, losing him, I'm not sure for how long at this moment, didn't impact him too much without our good running game that the Dolphins normally have due to that lack of center play. But in these games moving forward, guys like Travis Etienne, guys like Joe Mixon, these guys that are going to be eating up that middle of that field, how is that Bernard move going to impact this Bills team moving forward?
I think and that's what I alluded to with Bobby Babbage. You got those small cats. I said I didn't mention Terrell Bernard to him, but Terrell Bernard is too small, man. What he did, he talked. I love the guy, beautiful cat. Talked to him at training camp at St. John Fisher College. He put on about 5 pounds of muscle, he said, and now with that 5 pounds of muscle, he may have torn his pec muscle in that game. It looked like they're not saying, but it looked to me like a torn pec the way he was going to the locker room and he kept touching his shoulder and trying to move his arm while holding down on his chest. That looked like a torn pectoral muscle that, because he put that 5 extra pounds on during the off season, it come back to haunt him because it's too big for his body. He's a small stature guy, and if that's a torn pec, he's out. He'll be out most of the season. Probably automatically going to 4-hour IR for maybe 4 weeks. He may have to have surgery. If he has surgery, he's done for the year. Joe Anderson will probably be next up off of the practice squad, the UB specialist, to see what he can do. But now that teams are running the football, and they only had 2 teams that passed for over 300 yards in the first week of this season. Teams are now running the football. You're getting back into a running game. Your linebackers got to get bigger. They got smaller because everybody was throwing the ball all over the field. And now teams are being caught with small linebackers on the field. Terrell Bernard, he makes some good plays. I would move him to the outside when he comes back. I wouldn't play him in the middle because he's just too damn small. He keeps getting cleat marks on his chest every week when he does play the middle, and he tackles guys down the field. That's not his fault. He's a good guy, good player. I think he's playing out of position. He should be in the Matt Milano position. And they moved Dorian Williams, who truly is the perfect prototype for that Matt Milano, the outside linebacker, into the middle. He did well this week. I think they're gonna have to put Joe Anderson in another UB product, put him in the game at middle, keep Dorian Williams on the outside as an outside linebacker. And I look to see if they could go and get Deion Jones, who they cut, the former Atlanta Falcons standout, who they cut earlier. Let's see if they can bring him back. But next, we're going to go to some high school football talk. That segment was brought to you by Rock Pawnbrokers, 559 State Street, 585-262-9920. Sammy Cruz and the gang over there and the crew over there, they have the deals for you. Deal or no deal. You call it. You make the deal. You make the call. And Sammy and them hey, they're man and women of their word over there in that shop there. They're gonna have to stand up and give you the deal or no deal. That segment was by Rock Pawnbrokers, 559 State Street, 262-9920, area code 585. Give them a call to save you some gas coming over there, and let them talk to them over the phone about the deal you might have for them and see if it's worth stopping on in. And I guarantee you it's worth stopping on in over there at 559 State Street. They take care of you and get the job done over there at Rock Pawnbrokers. And next we're going to go to the high school roundup, the high school rep, and we're going to go with our Democrat and Chronicle reporter who's always on the scene and letting us know. He's going to tell us about this Aquinas game last night, a very good defensive struggle. Boy, I'm seeing my type of football all over the place. A defensive struggle, UPrep versus Aquinas. Welcome back to the Real Deal Sports Show, Marquel Slaughter. How you doing this morning? Good morning, Marquel. How you doing?
Morning, Marquel, my guy.
Guys, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
My bad. Yeah, I'm tired, man. These Friday nights are gonna be long for a couple months, man. But I've been waiting for football, so I love this stuff, man.
What happened to UPrep, man? Aquinas, man, they smaller cats, but those cats were hitting, man. They brought the woodshed up, man. They took UPrep to the woodshed. They beat them down last night, man. I was impressed with the physicality of Aquinas and unimpressed with UPrep. UPrep used to have, that's what they used to do to their opponents. And I guess, hey, everybody, it goes in a cycle. Now it's their turn to get their butt whooped. Mm-hmm. And that's what went down last night. 21-2 was the final score. Aquinas 21, UPrep 2. What happened, Marquel?
Well, it was 7-2 until midway into the fourth quarter. Wow. So it was still a game. UPrep had blocked a field goal, and they were driving with down 7-2. So it was a game for a while, but Aquinas' defense was just up for the task. They picked the ball off 5 times.
Yeah.
When I look back at the video I took, it looked like they were running a 2-5 defense with 2 down linemen and 5 linebackers as their base formation, which is kind of dangerous when you're playing UPrep because they always have so many athletes. But Aquinas this year, their linebackers, Lucas Leon and those guys out there, Quante Gillians, those guys can cover ground, man. They have 5 linebackers out there most of the game, and they were containing their running backs. UPrep, Bird and Robinson are probably one of the best quarterback running back tandems we got, and they couldn't do anything. They didn't have any time to throw. CJ couldn't get any long runs off. UPrep's defense was playing very, very well, and they did play very well. They only held them to 7 points for most of the game until the last 5 minutes. But that was definitely Aquinas' defense was definitely they're definitely up for the task, man. Trent Buttle, sophomore quarterback, played well, and he played well at safety. He got an interception, threw 2 touchdowns. He is elite in rusher. They got some young guys over there, but UPrep is not to mention their head coach Mo Jackson. George, you can tell me more about him than I can tell you about him. But he's the football pedigree he comes from. His coaching staff knows what they're doing.
Absolutely. Let's hear what Mo Jackson had to say about last night's contest.
Coach George Radney, Challenger Community News, and the Beat 105 Real Deal Sports Show. What was the key tonight for victory tonight?
Our team is we're depleted. We don't have a lot of guys, so toughness was the key today. We had Toughness was the key today. A lot of guys are gonna have to play through a lot of bumps and bruises. I asked them to do it for me yesterday in practice, and they stepped up. So the guys had to be tough today.
They seem
toughness.
so much physical than you prep. I'm used to seeing you prep being the aggressive.
Yeah, well, you prep was physical. They definitely made us bring it out. So it was a team effort, and our guys stepped up to the plate and had to do what we had to do.
No, last time I saw you was the game at U of R against McQuaid at the end of the season last year. Yeah. And now you seem like you carried over that toughness and physicality to this season. What was it? What was it? It's
the team, the players, they got a year under their belts with my system. Mm-hmm. So they're a little more comfortable now in the system. So we still got a lot to fix, a lot to work on, but I'm happy with tonight.
All right. Thank you.
All right. There you have it. Coach Mo Jackson, a famous football player here in the Rochester area, a legendary player from Marshall High School and then the Syracuse University as well. And he's teaching these young kids the proper techniques and the proper ability, the style to play. I was surprised he said his team was depleted with injuries. Marquel, can you address that? They were injured, but they still played. They played very hard.
They only had 25 kids. The biggest player that they were missing was their best receiver. He's a sophomore, Noah Collins Howard. He's already getting offers from Syracuse. And I guess he got hurt sometime during their week 1 game, so I didn't see him at all this week. But, yeah, they didn't have their best receiver, but they were – you see their running back, Darian Battle, number 5. Seemed like I didn't see last week's game, but I asked Coach if they used him any differently. They said he's their Swiss Army knife now. He's a running back. He's a receiver. He's motioning from side to side of the field. He's attracting most of the attention from the defense. He's a very important player. But, yeah, they were without a few guys. They won that thing with 25 guys, and that was the first thing Coach told them when he got back to the huddle at postgame. He screamed it out there out loud like that. We only had 25 guys, and we did it, and it was very impressive win. That was very impressive.
Amazing performance. Who you think is the top teams? Who should everybody look out for this rest of this high school football season?
Well, the one team I haven't seen yet is McQuaid. They're the 5-time defending champs.
Had a great game against Rush and Rieta last night.
What was that?
Had a phenomenal game against Rush. Probably the game of the year. They beat Rush 40-37. It was a really good game there. Last play of the game, 17 seconds left to give Rush the opportunity to try and score, but they just couldn't get it done ultimately. So they took the lead within that last 1 minute of the game over there in McQuaid.
And they went to Lancaster last week and beat Lancaster in double overtime. So that McQuaid is. I haven't seen a team beat McQuaid in the playoffs since I got here. So somebody got to beat them to they got to beat the champs to be the champs. You know what I mean? I got to pay respect to the champs. Bates does a great job over there. And in A, it's a few teams. Brighton really looks good. They went to the final last year and lost. East won A last year. They bring a lot of good players back. But I think everybody's on notice with Monroe moving up to A. And they tore Clarence apart last week. Monroe looks really, really good, man.
Now Wilson today. And it's going to be another whooping.
Yeah, Monroe's going to put up points again, man. This team, that program is different, man. And I'm not saying they're the team to beat in A yet because there's a few good teams in A, but they're definitely I'm still waiting to see who's going to win A, but if you were sleeping on Monroe before last week, you're not sleeping no more. Those boys are any classification. Those boys are ready, man. I can't call it, man.
Any other class divisions that you see that you see the best of the rest of some other high quality teams?
I've been in the big schools so much I haven't gone to the B's and the C's yet, but I mean with Honeoye Falls in Class B, they're 2-0. They look good. They beat a East Rochester team last week. That's a C team, but they're a contender in C. East Rochester and C should be good. I'm gonna see them sooner or later. Oh my gosh. But yeah, that's I still got some games to see, man. I still got a lot of football to see. but I'll say this: Section 5 versus Section 6. I think Section 5 is ahead of Section 6 in a lot of the classes. And in AA, Bennett keeps beating McQuaid, but McQuaid is right there. Bennett had to beat them at the buzzer last year. So with D, besides D, because the Section 6 Ds are CSP is they're a machine over there, but C, B, A, AA. Section 5 looks pretty good versus Section 6, at least, man.
Absolutely. And one last question I wanted to ask you too, Marco, before you go. The 7-on-7, the schools that play 7-on-7, I kind of like that. If you don't have enough players to fill out a traditional football team to play for sectionals, how do you feel about these schools playing the 7-on-7 league?
The 8-mans.
8-man?
They go down to 8-man, yeah. And there's some it's a fairly new concept. So, and it's a lot of the smaller schools that's 30, 40 minutes away from Rochester that has to do it. So I don't see them often, but we do have a squad from Pembroke that's they've won the 8-man regional or state championship the last couple years. They've had some pretty good players. They've got kids that's 270, 300 pounds with like 20 people on their kit. So they put anybody behind them, and they had a kid last year that he broke. Well, I wouldn't say broke Mike Hart's record because Mike Hart was playing 11-man, but in 8-man football, they had a kid Tyson Totten that graduated, but he has 70 touchdowns, 10,000 yards, everything Mike Hart did in 11-man. This kid did more in 8-man for whatever that's worth, and they got a lot of linemen coming back there. I don't expect that train to stop rolling.
Absolutely. And you know what? I don't see why some of these city schools, especially Edison Tech, that don't have enough players year in and year out, some of these city schools need to consider playing in the 8-man league and just dropping out of sectionals. Because it's a waste of time and effort. You playing against a team like a Monroe or a team like that, it's no need to even play against teams like that.
It's still like a dirty little word. People don't. They're trying their best not to go to 8-man. It's still a foreign thing to them. There are other states like Texas and stuff where a lot more schools are playing like 7-man, 8-man, 9-man. But it's still so new here. People are still uncomfortable with it. But it is. Yeah. We have had successful teams in Section 5 and 8-man.
Absolutely, and the kids want to have fun. Let the kids play. Just like with the girls' league, with the flag football, they got them out there playing. It's no fun getting your ass kicked by somebody week in and week out, especially a top teams. Those big teams that the Monroes and some of these teams that are just strong powerhouses year in and year out. You drop down to 8-man. Let your kids have fun. Let them even learn the game more. And plus, everybody gets to play. You're not watching. Everybody gets to play. Yeah. You're playing against 8-man teams. And it makes a lot of fun. The city school district should seriously consider that, Marquel. Do you think that may happen in the future?
I think we'll see more mergers. I think the teams will merge more before they have to go down to 8-man. So I think in the city they'll find enough kids to want to play 11-man. I know the numbers have dwindled, but I think at some point it's going to start going back up again sooner than later. I don't know how much higher, but the participation is going to get better sooner than later, I think. And I think what schools are going to do is, as long as they're big enough to keep merging, as long as they're not schools with 60, 70 class sizes, I think they're going to merge as much as they can before they have to go down to 8-man. But 8-man is not a bad option at all. I don't think not enough people are ready for it. I don't even think it's been around 10 years in this state yet.
Wow. All right. Well, Marquardt, thank you so much coming on to Rochester Democrat and Chronicle Report. How can people keep up with you? Keep up with your articles besides online at Democrat and Chronicle? How else can people catch your articles?
Just follow me Instagram, Twitter at Marquel Sports, MARQUEL Sports. I'm pretty active on there, and if you can't find me on the website, you'll definitely find me on social media, probably eating something.
There you go. All right. For the foodie shows, you hear that? Anybody with a foodie show, please invite Marquel Slaughter Get in contact because he's a foodie for sure and a great sports writer. Check out his columns weekly in the Democrat and Chronicle newspaper, daily, I should say, in the DNC Democrat and Chronicle newspaper here in Rochester, New York. We're going to have you back on later in the season. Thank you so much for coming on.
God bless. God bless, guys.
Yes, sir. Hold it down.
Yes, indeed. And before we go to our next guest coming up, we're going to go, of course, to our award-winning Miriam Rivera Farmers Insurance Agency, Auto, Home, Health, and Life Insurance, 1038 Lyle Avenue, 511 Bean Road, Suite B. Give a call, 585-360-0094. That's 360-0094, area code 585. She just found a way to save me a little money on my auto insurance just recently. Hey, she just put some money back in my pocket, and I'm sure she can put some money back in your pocket as well for your auto, home, health, and life insurance. Miriam Rivera, and she's an award-winning. You want an award-winning person. That's what you want. You want an award-winning insurance agency. That's what you want. Mm-hmm. You want somebody, and that's what she is. With plenty of experience, she has 3 locations now. The 1038 Lyle, 511 Bean Road. Thank you so much, Miriam Rivera, friend of the show, and also a great person to help save you money. And J-GILLZ, we're moving on our fast-paced Saturday morning to our next guest coming up. And we see our next guest has arrived.
Time, man.
What time is it?
Time, we get it going.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely right. And we're welcoming him to the show, Deputy Police Chief Keith Stitt. Welcome back to Real Deal Sports Show. Good morning.
Good morning, brother. It's good to see you.
Yes, sir.
How we progressing with the HBC, the Frederick Douglass Baldwin Richardson Classic coming up?
So we 1 week away. Everything is going well. Central State will be here Thursday, so we're going to have a block party for Central State. It's actually Samir's welcome party. That event is being sponsored by Goodwill of the Finger Lakes, so I'm excited about that. Also excited about that sponsorship.
Oh, excellent. And that's on Thursday. And looks like we have a representative from. Can you introduce our guest, Keith, who just came on with us?
Absolutely. This is the CEO of Goodwill of the Finger Lakes, Miss Jennifer Lake. How you doing, Miss?
Good morning. So excited to be with you guys this morning, and even more excited for this football game we got next weekend.
Yes, indeed. Welcome, Jen, to Real Deal Sports Show. And why did Goodwill decide to take part and become a sponsor of this event?
So Goodwill has really been working hard to be more present in community. And since I became CEO during the pandemic, we couldn't get right out there because, we were staying, 20 feet apart from each other. It just felt that way. And now that we have these opportunities to actually be out and come together, it's really important that Goodwill shows up and that we go to where everyone's going to be. And I can't think of a better place than at an HBCU football game. I'm a huge football fan. And with the programs that Goodwill runs in the community, like 211 and 988, the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and our services for people who are losing their vision, we want to make sure that people are able to see all of us that work for Goodwill. We have over 700 employees local to Rochester and the Finger Lakes region. We want to make sure that people know who we are and know that things are important to them, are important to us.
Absolutely. I remember growing up, even though growing up in Buffalo, I used to live right down the street from a Goodwill. You used to have corner stores back in the day, I'm talking 70s and 80s stores. And now that concept has kind of changed. You don't see Goodwill in the community like you used to back in the day. How do people interact with Goodwill, with your locations and things of that nature?
Yeah. So, as it's gotten more expensive to run stores and have stores, for everybody, not just Goodwill, for small businesses, for other individuals, we've had to go to a larger footprint store where we can sell more things. Shoppers need parking. It's Rochester. So even in Rochester, everyone wants to know, do you got parking? And so, we still have tried hard. So all our locations do have bus lines because we know that transportation is important to our employees, to the people coming. But really our stores are throughout the whole Finger Lakes region. Our South Clinton Avenue store, we still have hundreds of thousands of new items coming into that store every day. And honestly, when you talk to our thriftfluencers, so those are the people who follow us on social media and post their finds, that store has some of the best donations, some of the best stuff flowing in and out of there. Great sneakers that are coming in and out of there. So really encourage people to connect with us.
J-GILLZ, do you have a question?
Absolutely. Shout out to Goodwill because shout out to Goodwill, as you stated, with the influences. You can always find some good clothing over at Goodwill. Our generation definitely is doing that, that trends and things like that. Goodwill's always been good to me around, the holiday time. A lot of the extra clothes that I do have, just being able to donate it. How can some of our listeners, just be able to donate and give back to the Goodwill?
We so appreciate that because we can't run our programs without all of those donations. So all of our stores, our donation centers are open 7 days a week. All of them are open at least 9 to 5, if not extended hours. So the stores are open longer than that. But you're really in and out, and usually less than 5 minutes. We'll help you unload stuff and get it on your way. Nothing special, just pull up and we'll help do the rest.
Excellent.
Got me a couple of nice suits over at the Eastview location. One time.
I know you something else, J-GILLZ. I knew you had ulterior motives here. All right. Yes, indeed. Keith, can you tell us more about this collaboration with the Goodwill for what's going to take place this coming Thursday?
So again, Central State is our home team, and they'll be here Thursday. Goodwill was gracious enough to sponsor the Mayor's Block Party. So there will be the team, coaches, athletic directors, the school's presidents will be there, as well as the bands. So we expecting maybe about a total of 300 folks out there, food trucks to feed them. Obviously, we're going to ask Ms. Lake to address the crowd as well. So we are excited, and I am so thankful and grateful for this relationship. And policing is a team sport. So
yes,
I say this all the time. I don't care how much planning that we do, RPD does. If we don't have the confidence and the cooperation and participation from our community members, all our plan is for naught. So again, I'm just grateful for the partnership with Goodwill.
I must say, Keith, in the year that I've known you, you've done so much. You and your team. Police at the Rochester Police Department have done so much of getting the community involved just in this last year that I hadn't seen here in many years. And thank you we're very happy to have you in the community and coming up with fresh ideas and also some of the older ideas to bring them back out, dusting them off and bringing them back out like the PAL Police Athletic League that we used to all grew up with back in the day. Can you tell us about the game itself coming up this weekend?
Sure. So the game is Saturday. It's Central State versus Albany State University. That's Albany State in Georgia. On that Saturday, we're going to begin with a block party. We do have a celebrity DJ, cool DJ Red Alert from New York City. At 1 o'clock, at 1 o'clock, the game will start at 1 o'clock. After the game, we will have the Battle of the Bands. So, I'm looking forward to it. And I also just want to say that, this is a community engagement event. This is an opportunity for us to come together as a community. The proceeds from the game will go towards young men and women that's interested in going to an HBCU. And someone put a bug in my ear. I don't know if it's true, but on Thursday morning, at the HBCU experience, I heard that Central State's going to give out 3 scholarships. So,
really?
Yeah. So I'm excited. I mean, that's a rumor. That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
They ain't telling you what you know. You're telling them what you heard.
Exactly. So I'm gonna be in the area just in case it happens. So I'm excited about that.
And what time is that experience on Thursday? Because we're going to be the Rochester Association of Black Journalists. We're helping out at the event. as a co-sponsor per se, helping out on this fine event. What's the time on Thursday for people to know about this opportunity at the convention center as well?
That's correct. So it's 10 a.m. To 1 p.m. and the kids were selected by the RCSD guidance counselors as well as charter school leadership. So it's about 400 kids. We have about 25 HBCUs going to be at the convention center. What's unique about this is that the city of Rochester has a huge HBCU graduate population. So we asked those folks to be ambassador for their respective HBCU. So those folks are going to be there. The kids are going to go, approach those tables. Those folks will take that information, send it back to their respective HBCU admission folks, and the admission folks will get in contact with the kids. So I'm excited, and let me just mention this too as well. Then I'm a yell to Miss Lake. When HBCUs were first started, they were agricultural, environmental, and mechanical schools. We cannot forget that in the South. And so we are going to have folks from the trade industry there, and with great paying jobs. I'm talking about jobs starting at $75 an hour. So I am excited about this event.
Sounds like a great time. How can people get tickets? People are asking me, Buffalo here. How can they get tickets for the game for the Saturday, big Saturday football game?
So you could go on the city website, www.cityofrochester.gov/HBCU Classic. That site will direct you to Eventbrite. Go to Frederick Douglass HBCU Football Classic Weekend. I hope it'll pop up right away. If you want printed tickets, a lot of people ask for printed tickets. It's a great souvenir. It's Frederick Douglass Classic at Gmail. I check that Gmail all the time. I make sure you get printed tickets.
And then the last question about the tickets. So we're not selling any at the gate, but can they purchase them the day of still on Eventbrite?
Okay, so that's a great question. Correct. We're not selling tickets at the gate. The cutoff date was the 18th. We may move it to the 19th because of demand.
Okay, got you.
Okay. That sounds great. You hear that, everybody? Because we've been getting these questions, so great. We can get this information, disseminate this information out to the public, and they can how they can get these tickets, because people are asking about these tickets. They're moving like hotcakes. So, hey, don't get shut out of this opportunity to see a great football game, great tailgate party, and then, of course, the fifth quarter, the Battle of the Bands. So don't miss out. Get your tickets now. Great. Jen, in closing, anything you like to let the public know last about the Goodwill Industries of the Finger Lakes?
I just want to thank your listeners. We could not do everything we do. We are serving almost 200,000 people each year in our community, thanks to all of them. And it's also thanks to the HBCU grads. So we are proud to have HBCU alumni working for us and on our board. And, since we are hosting the home team, I got to say, go CSU.
There you go. All right. Hey, Keith, we'll be broadcasting live from the Rochester Sports Complex next Saturday morning for Real Deal Sports Show, as well as the game being broadcast live on the Beat 105.5. If you can't make it out to the game, hey, you can, if you're driving around or you're at work on Saturday afternoon, the game will be on the pregame from 12:45 on. We have a post game, so we'll be on from like 12:45 to 5 p.m. Next Saturday afternoon, Saturday, September 21st, with the live broadcast of the game. Myself, Mighty Oba, J-GILLZ, we're all be in the box, giving you what's going on and the play-by-play call of the game, Keith.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys so much. You've been so helpful. I appreciate you, George.
Appreciate you as well. Y'all have a great day. Thank you very much, Ms. Lake, Jen, for coming on. Continue to make today your day. Y'all have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
All right. J-GILLZ, we got to get, boy, man, what a day, J-GILLZ. It just, moving quickly. You know what time it is now. Now it's time to get into the games of the week and seeing what we're going to do with these games. And let's start off as we getting close to wrap up time. The Ravens Ravens at home against the Las Vegas Raiders. What's your pick on that game? The Raiders getting 11 points.
Oh man, with the spread, I'm still gonna I'm gonna rock out with the Raiders. I liked what I saw last week. Antonio Pierce, even though he had some choice words from my boy Tua Tagovailoa, even though they got beat down by the Chargers last week, I think he's gonna respond well. I like the Ravens. I like the Raiders with the points.
You like the Raiders with the points. All right. You don't think the Ravens been good blowing people out last season, but that was last season. We'll see that what they do come back. Yeah, I agree with you on that. That's a big spread right there. The Raiders got Antonio Pierce want to keep his job, so I think they'll cover that 10 or that 11-point spread. Chargers at Carolina. LA Chargers going to Carolina to face the hapless Carolina Panthers. What's your take on that one?
Oh man, so the Chargers, they done blew out the Raiders last week, 22-10. When I look at how bad the Carolina Panthers lost, man, I gotta roll with the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh gonna do his thing. J.K. Dobbins and company, they know how to run it to the ground. And not to mention, the Panthers lost Derrick Brown for the season, their top defensive tackle. So I'm gonna go with the Chargers in a blowout.
Yeah, I think so too. I think things not looking well. They got bad ownership. And now the bad vibes are hitting the team. They lost Brown, the best defensive player, one of the top defensive players in the league. Sorry to hear that he's gone so soon in the season due to injury for the Panthers. I'm going with you. Take the Chargers in this one. Let me tell you about my drop-dead pick of the week. My pick of the week is San Francisco traveling to Minnesota. Minnesota getting 7 points at home. It'll probably be 6.5 down to 5 points. I'm taking Minnesota. I think Minnesota will win this game outright. I think Minnesota, it's a bad matchup for the 49ers with their running game coming across country. I'm taking Minnesota to win the game outright and definitely cover the 6.5 or 5.5 point spread. Because if you followed me last week, I hope you won a hell of a lot of money with the Red Man last week with my drop-dead pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers going down to Atlanta. I said it's a pick-em game. Take the Steelers. When in doubt, take the Steelers when they're not favored. They weren't favored. It was a pick-em. They ended up they kicked 6 field goals. They scored 18 points. 18-10 was the final. Kirk Cousins, as I expected him to be with the Atlanta Falcons. Didn't show up, didn't produce enough points as always. Kirk Cousins wait till he get halfway through the season or when he's almost out of the playoff race to start playing really well and bring his team back to get close enough to just miss the playoffs. That's what Kirk Cousins does year in and year. I can't believe how he gets paid like the kind of money he gets paid. But last week, the Steelers, so I hope you won with me last week. This week, the Vikings getting 7 points. J-GILLZ, your take on that game?
I can't co-sign that one with you, right, man. I can't co-sign that one with you. Well, I'm right there with you. When you feel it, you feel it. I picked the Patriots last week over the Bengals. I felt like that they were going to win that game. When you feel it, you feel it. I can't co-sign that after what I saw with Christian McCaffrey going down and the 49ers completely just obliterating Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, and that's supposed to be a top defense in the league. No, man, I gotta go with the 49ers. To me, they look like the best team in the league outside of the Kansas City Chiefs. So I gotta roll with them in this early week 2 matchup.
They certainly do, and I think Brian Flores will have something for him, just like he had for them last year when Minnesota did defeat them last year. They played last season. Minnesota did defeat the 49ers a year ago. We move on to the Jets. The New York Football Jets going to Tennessee to play the Tennessee Titans. And, man, I thought Josh Allen, when he ran backwards in the playoff game and ran out of bounds and lost 30 yards on the play. I thought that was the worst. But this Lyle Lovett or this Leavitt guy, man, he does not belong in the National Football League. The Tennessee Titans need to find a quarterback. This guy was almost on his knees. He had his back to the field, and he underhanded the ball toward the sideline, and for an easy interception, he single-handedly cost the Tennessee Titans the football game a week ago against the Chicago Bears. The Tennessee defense, they held Khalid Williams to a total of 148 yards, no touchdowns, and they lost the game. How do you lose the game when you hold a team? I never saw such stats like that. And the Levi Gill, Levis, whatever you call his name, get him out the league, man. Find you at Tennessee, let him go do TV commercials because he's a bum on the football field. He played at Kentucky, I think, in college. No wonder people didn't want to draft him. Oh my gosh, he's horrible, man. So take the New York Jets. I think the Jets are mad about losing and getting their butt kicked out in San Francisco last week. The defense will show up this week. and Aaron Rodgers going to have some trouble. The Titans got a very good defense, but their quarterback is horrible. Horrible quarterback. Arizona and the Rams, a pick'em game. Who you like in that one?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. After what we saw last week with the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Buffalo Bills, I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals, not to mention Kyron Williams didn't look as explosive as I thought he would earlier on that matchup. And, of course, losing Puka is going to be tough. That's their number 2 receiver. So I think it's going to be a tough one for them to overcome so early in the season. I'm rolling with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. connecting a little bit more than they did last week.
I agree, because 4 to 5 offensive linemen are out for the LA Rams. When you lose 4 of your 5 starting linemen, that's not a good sign. That doesn't bode well for you this upcoming week. Arizona played the Buffalo Bills very hard. They came up and played a very good game. They just didn't close it out at the end like they should have. Thought Murray should have went after Marvin Harrison a little more. I bet he'd go after him a little more, because the Arizona media, as we saw in the Arizona locker room, man, they were hot. They were all on him about why he didn't go to Marvin Harrison. The guy said, why you throw that the smallest guy on the team, man? They went after him. And I hear the music. Let's bring in BacSpin. BacSpin, we're going to wrap it up with the Cowboys home to the New Orleans Saints. Dak got his money. He got his loot. CD Lamb got his loot. I'm predicting they'll cover the 7 and beat they seem like world beaters at home during the regular season.
I mean, the Cowboys are the Cowboys until we get in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to have a pretty good season as long as everybody stays healthy. The defense look like they, doing a damn thing right now. And I look for them to come out and play the same way against New Orleans. Our offense is high-powered, and we should be good throughout the season. It's the playoffs that make me nervous, right, man? We good in the season. The playoffs, though, that's when we tend to fall apart. And it hurts. You know what I'm saying? Like Lil Wayne said about not being on the Super Bowl halftime show. It hurts. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to us at least this week beating the New Orleans Saints.
There you go. And you mentioned the Super Bowl halftime show. Kendrick Lamar. What do you think of that choice?
I mean, it's a safe choice. I'd say that it's a very safe choice. Lil Wayne has, maybe some unsavory qualities or characteristics about him that maybe the whole world may not agree with. The NFL is global. That Super Bowl halftime show is on a global stage. And I just think that they didn't want a face tatted up guy, of Lil Wayne's caliber to represent the NFL. That's what I think.
That's why you add Drake and Nicki with Wayne.
Well, you could have done that, but they chose to go with Kendrick. I mean, Wayne just came out yesterday with a statement saying, how he felt about it. He said he was hurt. He said he was disappointed, but he also said, it's his fault for thinking that somebody was going to give that to him. You know what I mean? Just because the Super Bowl was in his city. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, nobody told me that was going to be mine. I felt like I should probably got it, but it wasn't for me. So, they didn't give it to him. And I think he just has to accept it. And, he's still Lil Wayne. That doesn't take anything from him. You know what I mean? Would it have been dope for Wayne to be on that stage? Yes. Maybe Kendrick will give him a surprise guest spot on that stage. You never know. Will Wayne accept it? Being that it's kind of, second rate or second class, I don't know. These are questions that still have to be answered. But
the thing, BacSpin too, you in the Bay next year, and then you in LA the following year. I feel like this Kendrick pick was a bit premature. Not to say that you gotta go with the artists from the whole city, but I mean, you in California back-to-back years after this. To me, that's what I'm like. Come on, man.
Yeah, maybe they should have held them off for 1 year. You know what I mean?
But also look at it too, gentlemen, that Super Bowl has been this will be the 10th or 11th time the Super Bowl's in New Orleans. Hey, Lil Wayne, if they ain't chose you by now, what makes you think you're gonna get chosen now, man?
And you know what? We wouldn't even be having this conversation if the Super Bowl wasn't in New Orleans. I mean, let's be real. Like it's only because it's in New Orleans that we feel like Wayne should be on that stage, and it should because it's his city. But you know, again, the NFL is too big for Lil Wayne.
That's right. And
they don't want a guy like that representing them on that stage. And
absolutely. And when it was in Detroit, they didn't go with Motown. They went with Rolling Stones. When they were in New York City, they didn't go with the hip hop, celebrating the hip hop culture. They did it during the week. They had a big hip hop concert show, which was true down the pier on that Thursday night. But they went with Bruno Mars down there, and when it was in New York City. So they tend not to go with who's really the real music or the real music people of that particular city.
I mean, and not for nothing, I can make an argument that Kendrick Lamar was just on the stage with Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg. You know what I'm saying? They brought him out to do a little guest appearance. Yeah. So you know, he was just on that stage. But I don't know. I agree with you though, J-GILLZ. I don't think Kendrick Lamar's I don't think he's put in enough time to be on that Super Bowl stage just yet.
And he performed 2 of his biggest hits already.
Right.
Miraculous. I mean, it was a great show. I mean, some of that choreography and the stuff that he brought out on that set for that 2-minute and 10-minute performance was great.
Yep. I agree. We got to wrap it up, guys. We got to wrap it up. Another Real Deal Sports Show. Next week, we're going to be broadcasting live over there from, what's the name of that stadium? Is it? It's not Salem Stadium anymore, right?
Right. It's Rochester Sports Complex.
There you go. Rochester Sports Complex. All right. So, yeah, man, Real Deal Sports Show. Appreciate you guys, man. Fanatic, where you at, kid?
He's missing in action, but he'll be back soon. Like us, click the notify on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you to new people that subscribe. Hey, we need more of y'all. Subscribe to the show on YouTube. If you can't catch us early in the morning, 8 to 9 a.m. live, catch us on YouTube. Real Deal Sports Show. Like us, subscribe to the show.
The Beat 105.5, keep it where you need it. The Back of Time Mix Show is on the way.